Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and over the past one day, we've just seen a weekly candle close for Bitcoin, which has confirmed this massive spike of volume in place. Also, the US stock market has held up relatively well today after seeing a bit of a bounce towards the end of last week. And this is actually important to pay attention to for all crypto holders. So I'll be talking more about that later in the video. Definitely stick around. First of all, just giving you a quick update on the daily Bitcoin chart, and you can clearly see that the Bitcoin price is still holding above this range of support at around $29,000 to $30,000. So for as long as the Bitcoin price is holding above that range of support, honestly, we're not looking too bad. But zooming into the shorter term, taking a look at the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, and obviously we're still playing out that choppy sideways price action that I've been talking about over the past few days, because it was as soon as this bullish divergence formed on the 4-hour Bitcoin charts that I said we're likely to reduce our bearish momentum in the shorter term, but not necessarily see a lot of bullish price action, which would result in mostly choppy sideways price action for the next few days. And obviously, because of the fact that the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI is still in an uptrend, this is still what I'm expecting in the shorter term. Once again, some more sideways price action. And this type of price action is actually very normal after a Bitcoin crash, because the Bitcoin price just needs some time to stabilize. But with that being said, I should update you on what's happening with that potential inverse head and shoulders pattern that I talked about yesterday on the channel. Obviously, the Bitcoin price initially broke out to the upside. We did see one 4-hour candle close above the neckline, which is technically one confirmation for this breakout. But as always, I talked about how ideally we need to see some sort of retest in order to have more confidence in the breakout to the upside, because otherwise one confirmation isn't a lot of confirmation. And you can clearly see the Bitcoin price came back down towards the neckline, and essentially if we held that neckline, which was coming in at around 30.1k approximately, then in that case a bounce from that level would have further confirmed that breakout. But the fact that the Bitcoin price broke back below that neckline with at least one 4-hour candle close, and currently that neckline is now back to acting as resistance, this inverse head and shoulders pattern has now been invalidated. But what hasn't been invalidated is what we're seeing on the weekly Bitcoin chart, looking at the weekly Bitcoin volume, because of course we just saw a weekly candle close. And as I mentioned in the intro of this video, with that candle close, that actually confirmed this massive spike of volume in place. And this is actually a big deal for Bitcoin, because basically anytime we see a massive Bitcoin crash, it's usually when we see a massive spike in volume, that is when the Bitcoin price essentially meets its bottom or gets very close to the bottom, as I discussed in more detail in yesterday's Bitcoin update video. And if you're looking at last week's spike in volume, that was actually the third biggest spike in volume that we have seen in 5+ years, at least when you're talking about the spikes of volume that happened during a Bitcoin capitulation that basically marked the bottom for that crash. The only two other examples over the past 5+ years where we've seen a bigger spike in volume than what we've seen right now during a Bitcoin crash has been in the May 2021 crash and the March 2020 crash. And obviously in the coming months, basically as we approach towards the end of the year, we saw a lot more bullish price action, because it was when we saw those spikes in volume, that was basically when the Bitcoin price bottomed out or got very close to the Bitcoin bottom, as we experienced in the middle of last year. So basically, according to the weekly Bitcoin volume, which historically speaking has been a very accurate indicator at determining Bitcoin bottoms, the Bitcoin price has either already hit the bottom at around 25,000 or it is very close to the bottom. And if it's the latter of those two, then I'll be targeting towards the 200-week simple moving average, which is currently coming in at just above $22,000 per Bitcoin if we break $25,000, which might not happen. So this is why I've been telling you, personally, I'm dollar cost averaging heavily within these moving averages, which is basically between the 1,000-day moving average and the 200-week moving average, because historically speaking, all of the Bitcoin price that has occurred between these moving averages has turned out to be an amazing buying opportunity, especially if you're holding for the longer term. And so far at the time of recording this video, even in this example, if you bought as we dropped below the 1,000-day MA, currently you'll be sitting in profits. But I want to make it clear that this is not financial advice. I'm just telling you what this indicator means for Bitcoin and what has already happened historically speaking, and my personal Bitcoin strategy, which is once again to go heavier into Bitcoin as the Bitcoin price is between these moving averages. But in the meantime, by default, I am slowly dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin anyway. And looking at the US stock market today, the indices have held up relatively well. This right here is the Nasdaq 100 index on the daily time frame, and so far today we've seen a slight pullback, but we haven't yet broken below that previous low that we set last week, down towards around 11.6 to 11.7k. And as I've been mentioning time and time again in these videos, videos, we need to see some sort of bottom form in the stock market before being more confident that the bottom is in for Bitcoin. And that is mostly due to the stock market and the Bitcoin price being really correlated with each other. So basically, if the US stock market keeps dumping and forms a brand new lower low, then that would significantly increase the probability of the Bitcoin price dumping down, potentially back towards 25k and even down towards that 200-week moving average if the stock market keeps dumping once again. But for now, looking at today's trading day, we're holding up relatively well, and the same can be said about the S&P 500 index here on the daily time frame. We're holding up relatively well today. So as crypto holders, let's just hope we get to see a bit more of a bounce here in the stock market, which could help out crypto prices. But either way, you can actually keep making money in crypto even if prices are going down. And if you want to know how to do that, make sure to check out one of these videos popping up right here on your screen, because in both of these videos, I review how I continue to make money in crypto no matter what prices are doing. But anyway, that is it for this update. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.